Alright, here I'm going to explore this Satanism and what it is about, because we always hear a lot of preaching against the Satanist, the Illuminati, they're Satanist, oh, they're gonna get us. What is all the hype about? What do they believe in? What is so scary about these guys? So just reading through the website churchofsatan.com, it's pretty interesting. And I think it's necessary too. A lot of truth seekers get snagged on this Illuminati mysticism, or this mystification of the Illuminati, and it becomes a stumbling block to true information, true knowledge, because honestly, in my opinion, it's kind of a waste of time. Personally, I think it's a Christian patriot movement. Basically, it comes from these fundamentalist Christians who don't understand what the true nature of the world in the first place. On top of that, they're patriots, and they want to make sure their country is protected from these Illuminati demons. So, but to me, this is just another exoteric religion. So, just going through their website and some of their basic premises. Gonna demystify this, take the spookiness away from it. So, Anton LaVey, of course, a lot of people may have heard of him. He's the famous guy who founded this Church of Satan. So, what do they believe? So, it says here, we are the first above-ground organization in history openly dedicated to the acceptance of man's true nature, that of a carnal beast living in a cosmos that is indifferent to our existence. First sentence. Now, he says we're the first above ground because, again, underground, this stuff is understood. And I'll go on to basically what this correlates to, of course. But he's saying we are dedicated to accepting man's true nature, that of a carnal beast, living in a cosmos that is indifferent to our existence. Of course, as a flat earther, I'll have to interject that their concept of the cosmos is off, their cosmology is off, but still the flat earth, nature, whatever you want to call it, is still indifferent to the creatures. In the ultimate sense, it's indifferent. So, again, and we are carnal beast. I mean, at our basic function, that's what this is. Carnal just means like flesh, meat, and we are human animals, so in a sense we are a beast. But we have intellect and thought, of course, and self-reflection. We are just more sentient than the animals, other animals. So to us, Satan is a symbol that best suits the nature of who we are, carnal by birth. People who feel no battles raging between our thoughts and feelings. We who do not embrace the concept of a soul imprisoned in the body. So here's the key. Okay, they understand the nature of this world is carnal. That's what they're getting at with the Satan thing. That's what the Christians won't admit. They know that this is Satan. They even say on the side here, we are legion, because they understand that man is the army of Satan. They already have admitted this. Why people want to act all righteous, like, no, this is the bestial state. This is Satan. So they're honest enough to admit this. They're even more truthful than the Christians who attack them. Christians won't admit this. So they don't embrace the concept of a soul imprisoned in the body, though. That's the distinction. That's a big one. And I don't either, necessarily. I don't really believe. I believe the soul of man is his dispositions as a being, incarnate being while alive. You could say that. But as far as the prison concept is much more deep and subtle than to say that all of us are truly just light shatters or particles inside the body. And I made reference to that metaphor, but I don't literally believe that. The prison concept, the bondage concept, is much deeper, complex, more subtle and esoteric than to simply say, like I said, that we're just pieces of light. Everyone's a piece of light inside a body who needs to get free of the body. You know, that's a cartoonization of the concept. So they don't believe that soul imprisoned in the body. So they're saying, if this is all it is, then this is what we are, which you can't really debate them. They're just saying this is what man is, a carnal beast. We're just accepting man's true nature. He represents pride, liberty, and individualism, qualities often defined as evil by those who worship external deities who feel there is a war between their minds and emotions. So he's talking about the exoteric beliefs of Joyce Meyer, the battlefield of the mind. People think there's God on the right shoulder, there's devil on the left. Now, I may entertain that notion, but I don't truly believe that man is neutral and God and the devil is within. We can pick one. That's what they're saying. They're like, nah, ain't no war. Your true nature is carnal, right? That's basically what they're saying. All the good we do is relative, right? It's all within the context of biology. But I'll get back to that. So as Anton LaVey explained in his classic work, The Satanic Bible, man using his brain invented all the gods, doing so because many of our species cannot accept or control their personal egos, feeling compelled to conjure up one or a multiplicity of characters who can act without hindrance or guilt upon whims and desires. So these are externalized egomaniac versions of humans. The ultimate Brahman image, the ultimate God image, would be the ultimate intelligent wise man who sees himself epitomized in the God. Of course, because he's more clever than the masses, of course, and does have a deeper intuition. He creates these concepts that are externalized as the epitome of himself. The ultimate warrior king would be the violent God, the retributive God, the God who sleeps with 100 women. That's the epitome of that personality. You have, gods like the female gods who are very sensuous. They have a lot of fecundity, a lot of sexual energy. That's the epitome of that woman. Everyone knows that lady or that girl from high school who was like that. But that would be a god. So he's saying, look, these are all just externalized concepts that come from human ego. So all gods are thus externalized forms, magnified projections of the true nature of their creators, personifying aspects of the universe or personal temperaments which many of the followers find to be troubling. So exactly, we externalize them, we turn them into anthropomorphic images, and so here you go. Now you can look at them, but only problem is that's confusing now to later generations. Worshipping any god is thus worshipping by proxy those who invented that god. Right, so like me and my friend was talking about the Bible, it's not really a book. It's a collection of multiple books by men from different eras who didn't even know each other, right? But if you put it under one book and call it a book, and then you start worshiping the concepts in there, you're really just worshiping the creators of that writing. You're not getting to the heart of the matter. So that's what he says. If you worship a god, you're worshiping the inventor. So since the Satanists understand that all gods are fiction, instead of bending a knee in worship to or seeking friendship or unity with such mythical entities, he places himself at the center of his own subjective universe as his own highest value. Now, this is one of their main tenets, that man is the center of his universe. This is true. This isn't even in law of attraction. Everyone is a center of their universe. See, they embrace this. The problem with Christianity, of course, is they don't know that Christ's true teachings are Gnostic, meaning he's beyond this world totally. He's not trying to compromise with the world. Christians are trying to compromise with the world, and they think the Satanists are trying to destroy the world. The Christians want to save the world and want Jesus to come back and save the world. But even St. Augustine, who's the father of Christianity, basically said that no, Jesus is not the Jesus concept, the story, the narrative is not intended to found a kingdom on earth. So, because Eric Dubé just put out a video about how Jesus never existed. He's getting a lot of dislikes. He's getting, it's more so dislikes than likes. It shows a lot about the flat earth community, how they're just a bunch of Christians who really aren't ready to question this premise of this narrative of this character called Jesus. Because it's really about the message. But, like I said, his message was beyond this world. The Satanists are saying, but we are here. We are man. We are the carnal beast with ego. So in that sense, we are all self-willed individuals. So we are all selfish by nature. You can deny it if you want, but we are all selfish. We are all the center of our universe. And everything we experience revolves around us. Like people say you're not the center of the universe, but actually you are the center of your universe. Now you may say, well, that's a satanic concept. We need to be selfless. The world doesn't work that way, and that's what they're saying. The world is selfish by design. It's life for life. Like, simply, like if you drink Fiji water, you go to the gas station, there's one Fiji water left. you're taking that Fiji water. Like, regardless, obviously everybody likes Fiji water because there's only one left. But that's yours. You know, the person who comes in 30 minutes later wanted Fiji, he couldn't get it. Fuck him. I mean, we're selfish by definition. I mean, that's just our function at birth. You know, babies start with the selfishness early on. You can see it. So they're just embracing the true nature of this world. So we Satanists are thus our own gods. And as beneficent deities, we can offer love to those who deserve it and deliver our wrath within reasonable limits upon those who seek to cause us or that which we cherish harm. So they're saying, well, we are gods, we are deities. In the sense, that's true. We are co-creators in this world. Now, like I said, we would be legion. Like they say, we are legion. We are egos, but we are affecting the creation of our life events. It has a lot to do with us. We're the responsible beings, whether through ignorance, intention, folly, arrogance, violence. Whatever, we create these events, even if we just experience them. Just the fact that we're there, I mean, we have a part to play in their creation. So they're really about taking this victimhood out of existence too. But clearly they're more honest about creation, this existence, than the truther Christians who are against them. So he's going to go into more detail about their stance. So he says Satanism is not devil worship. First sentence. So Satanism is not devil worship. That's his first sentence. And that's what people think it is. People literally think there's a devil and there's a devil to worship. Now, these guys are extravagant and they do sensationalize the symbology. So you'll see pictures of them, like there's a guy with this red robe on. And, you know, to the subconscious mind, to the imagery we're programmed with, ooh, spooky, what are they doing? You know, it just sets off a lot of subconscious imagery that's just not positive in our paradigm. But once you get past that, which is why I'm going through this, and demystify it, they're really not doing anything. Like, it's not, look, they're embracing that they're just carnal men. They're embracing the carnality of existence. Now, of course, Christianity is supposedly either taming this or against this or etc. But just like Kierkegaard said, and truthfully speaking, Christians don't want to know the truth anyway, because then they would have to act accordingly. So, but I'm just putting this out there just to make it clear that all this hype and fear and mysticism around the Illuminati and the Satanism is dumbfounded. Put it like that, it's dumbfounded. So he says that comes as a shock to many who haven't explored our philosophy in this prime misconception. Outsiders regarding, you know, in the prime misconception outsiders have regarding the Church of Satan. So over the years, individuals with needs to feel embraced by a deity have claimed that LaVey somehow came to believe in literal Satan. And clearly, this is not Sunkiss or SQS going over to Satanism, but it's also to say that even if what is a Satanist anyway? So he's saying I don't even believe in literal Satan. So if he doesn't believe in Satan, then what does he believe? That's what I'm saying. He understands that man is the army of Satan in his crude, raw state. That's what man is. So if we examine his work, it is clear that he never changed his mind about this. Nor was the belief in the devil ever some secret inner circle practice of the Church of Satan. So like I said, they had their rituals, which just like the church, they have their real, like the Catholic Church you'll see on TV. All that shit's weird and pointless and ceremonial and extravagant and sensational and it's deluding as hell, and it's just ceremonial nothingness. They do the same thing, but of course there's going to have a tinge to it because you're not used to that angle on it. But if you really, like I said, study the philosophy, you'll find it's more truthful, and I'll go into it here. So we Satanists understand that both truth and fantasy are needed by the human animal. It is a step towards wisdom when one knows with certainty which is which. Man relies on symbolism and metaphor when building a personal conceptual framework for understanding the universe in which he lives. So that's the point. They're saying both truth and fantasy, and that's what the religions came in. I made a video about atomism, talking about the Vedas. They put fantasy in there. Most of those guys, I would say, are honest. I'm not going to be that cynical, but there's at least half of them too that are trying to make a living off of the fantasy side, because people love the fantasy side more than the truthful side. The Satanists are actually giving you some truth. They come out with the statement human animal. You really won't hear that from the other side. They're being more blunt about our condition here. But they're saying we needed these concepts to relay the idea. Like the image is a vehicle for a concept. I mean, once you get the concept, you can actually destroy the image and it'll be even deeper. But, people hold on to symbolism and imagery. So even these guys hold on to certain symbols like this Baphomet. So, like I said, man relies on symbolism and metaphor. Every culture has their symbols and metaphors for the common and the contemplative elite alike to grasp an idea. So he has always invented his own gods using his carnal brain. From the Satanic Bible, it says, man has always created his gods rather than his gods creating him. Now, that's pretty much indisputable in the highest sense. These anthropomorphic gods were all created by men. They were drawn by men. The attributes were described by men, etc., etc. We go on and on, of course, right? Even if you think some of these guys really were visited by gods, they were still transcribed and filtered through the mind of a carnal brain of a man. So in the end, they were still created by man. However, this act of creation is usually denied. People deny that man created it. That's what the whole point. People say man wrote the Bible. Fundamentalist Christians will say no, God wrote it. And as I said, it's different books from different eras. The men didn't know each other. The wisest kings, the characters in there like King Solomon would never say God wrote this, but the fundamentalist followers do. So whatever. History shows that the founders of religions claimed personal contact with the deity fabricated through their imaginations, and legions of followers bolstered that fiction. There's nothing wrong with fantasy so long as an individual knows he is using this self-control delusion as a tool for dealing with existence. So again, I'll correct that word. And he said there's nothing wrong with fantasy so as long as the individual knows he is using this controlled self-delusion as a tool for dealing with existence. That's what rituals are. It's a way to delude your mind because you're trying to train your subconscious mind to accept that you're actually doing something, because magic is nothing but a function of the subconscious mind. So that's why he says nothing wrong with it if you understand, like I said in previous videos, like Goddess Lakshmi, if you understand it's just a symbol, it's a tool for you to be convinced of something, to convince yourself of something. It's not a reality unto itself, then it's fine. But of course, that never happens. People always fall into literalism, fundamentalism, sectarianism, strife, confusion, etc. So for we skeptical, pragmatic Satanists, it is wielded in the ritual chamber. So he's just saying we do use those controlled self-delusions. Like I said, they still use these rituals, these red robes, these symbols, and they look real, spooky to especially a Christian patriot. But it's really nothing. You know what I'm saying? Just get it, just see what they're talking about. It's really nothing. So reliance on fantastic constructs becomes dangerous when the believers in spiritual religions dogmatically insist that their personal or collective fantasies are real in the world at large, that they are the only absolute truth, and then wait for the myth to guide them or try to force others to share this delusion. As I went over, that whole confusion over that. That's the problem. If you admit that I'm just using this as a tool, this is a function of my human mind, another culture, they use a different tool, a different function, then you don't take it far and say, no, it applies to the world at large. That's why everybody needs to get in line. No, you're not understanding the deeper sense, and that's what they're saying, thinking you're the absolute truth. So, like it says, that has been the source for countless wars, as any student of history can see. As I said, the strife, the confusion, just another reason on top of the biological and nutritional reasons for war, the resource reasons for war, we have belief systems, these supernatural belief systems. So in this book, he says, the Satanist realizes that man and the action and reaction of the universe I would say nature, is responsible for everything and doesn't mislead himself into thinking that someone cares. So this is the premise. They're just saying there is no anthropomorphic force or independent figurehead that you're going to appeal to beyond the ways of nature itself. So exactly like man, I mean, you act, you get reaction. It's simple. It's a self-created mechanism. It works how it works. Now, the Gnostics go into this also, how it's indifferent. They would go so far as to say that, well, yeah, the mind behind it is satanic. And that's sort of what they're saying here too. They're saying this thing is indifferent. You think somebody cares, like something bad happens and people start praying. I'm like, well, why did it happen in the first fucking place? If there's a power over it, why did it happen in the first place? Why did they allow it to happen? Like a Sour Patch Kid, you know, like he put the fake tunnel picture up in the middle of the road, and the guy thought he was going through a tunnel, and he bust his ass because he ran into it. Then the Sour Patch Kid comes up and helps him up. It's the same thing. Like, well, why did you do it in the first place? So they're saying, I'm not going to mislead myself into thinking somebody cares. I mean, this is all man's responsibility. So is it not more sensible to worship a God that he himself has created in accordance with his own emotional needs? One that best represents the very carnal and physical being that has the idea power to invent a God in the first place. So, and he goes on to say, well, if we are to worship something, why don't we just worship the epitome of what we are in the first place, this carnal physical being that has the idea power to invent the God in the first place? So he continues on in an interview. He says, Satan is a symbol, nothing more. Satan signifies our love of the worldly and our rejection of the pallid, ineffectual image of Christ on the cross. So here's the key. Satan signifies our love of the worldly. So that's the Gnostic premise, that this world is of Satan. This is Satan's hell. This is Satan's playground. They're embracing that fact, which they have the free will to do. Now, he goes on to say, we reject that ineffectual image of Christ on the cross. Yeah, which is very disturbing. I think that's the worst imagery. Like, a lot of Catholics use that one with Christ bloody on the cross. Like, why would you, why is that your symbol of a spiritual teaching? It has nothing to do. It's sadistic. It's really sick. And people say how the blood of Christ saved us. Like, what kind of vampire shit is this? So all this shit is Satanism, if you ask me. The blood of Christ? Are you a vampire or something? That's sick. So, let's see. Accepting the axiomatic premise that no gods exist as independent supernatural entities means that Satanists are de facto atheists. And also, I would agree with that in the highest technical sense, that I don't believe in supernatural independent entities as such. So they're just atheists. There's no rational problem with that. There's nothing that makes that automatically evil in the sense that a Christian would say evil. We know that the objective universe is indifferent to us. Again, observation. Obviously it is. Go walk into a jungle and tell me what God's going to do for you. You're going to get fucking eaten. It's clear as day, right? But see, the Christian's still gonna lie. Oh no, it must be is God works in mysterious ways. That's not a mystery. You got fucking eaten. There's no mystery there. But they're gonna make some shit up. And these guys are just saying, well, obviously the objective nature is indifferent to us. Since our philosophy is self-centered, each Satanist sees himself as the most important person in his life. Again, everybody in the world believes they are the most important person in their own life. Even if you project it onto somebody else, that's still in reference to you, because that's an extension of you. You can't get around it. Again, the brain body is ego, is self-will. That's just another observation. Each individual thus generates his own hierarchy of values and judges everything based on his own standards. Clear. That's apparent, right? Everybody values everything else differently. We have our own values and judges everything based on our own standards. We all do it. Another observation. Therefore, we Satanists appoint ourselves as the gods in our subjective universes. So, the gods, the creators of their own existence within nature. You are literally looking around yourself 360, which means you are the center of your experience. And again, that's what law of attraction and everything goes into. Business self-development, they talk about that too. It's about the internals. So it's about the internals. That means about the core, which affects the external, which is the surrounding circle, you could say, circumference. That means you are the center of your experience. It's plain sense. That doesn't mean we think we have the powers of a mythological deity, but it does mean that we revere the creative capacity in our species. Exactly. Gods. It's a sensational word. Doesn't mean we have the mythological power. We can, make lightning, hit you with lightning bolts. They're just saying, like I said, the creative capacity. Man is the creator. All you see in civilization, every culture, is the creation of the minds of the men and the women in it. So that's the creative capacity. They created it, not God per se. So to distinguish ourselves from the atheists who simply reject God as non-existent, we call ourselves atheist. So that's deep. So, like I said, technically de facto atheists, but like you said, if you ask us, we're atheists. Meaning everyone is the center of their own experience. They're the creator gods of their experience to a large extent. Therefore, then they will be atheists. That's their logical conclusion of their premise. So with our own healthy ego as the center of our perspective, which is true. And everyone is an atheist, right? You can say you're not, but everything you're doing is preserve your I, which means you're the most important person in your life. So now I would say with this, Gnostics would be anti-theists. In a sense, they would say they would notice the fallacy or the evil in this I and just say, well, we don't agree with any of it. We're anti-theists. We're against the creator God of this nature, this creation. The Satanists would say, well, there's really no external God anyway, but we do embrace this satanic nature, this selfish will of existence. We embrace it. So this is truly a blasphemous concept that flies in the face of just about every other religion, and it is why Satan serves as well as a symbol. He was described as the prideful one, refusing to bow to Jehovah. He is the one who questions authority, seeking liberty beyond the stultifying realm of heaven. He is the figure championed by the likes of Mark Twain, Milton, and Byron as the independent critic who heroically stands on his own. Here he goes into other readings of Satan because it's not really conclusive. And this is when he's going to say Satan's a good guy. In the narrative, because, see, Jehovah would be seen as a demiurge anyway. So whoever rebelled against Jehovah would be looked at as a liberator in a sense. Now, in the sense that they would say Satan was kicked out of heaven and he was cast down, in that sense, then man is the Satan that was kicked out of heaven. As a intelligence, as a deific intelligence of sorts, forced to become concomitant with the man animal because you were kicked out of heaven. But they're saying how this figure was championed by Mark Twain in them, and Mark Twain did write some things on, and he wrote some actually anti-theist writings also, Mark Twain. But they're just speaking of how, this creator God concept, which would be demiurge, is an enslaver. Like they would read the Prometheus story as being a good thing because you're liberating the minds of men from the shackles of nature, the fire that they stole from the gods, etc. Prometheus. They would say, well, yeah, that's a good thing. That's what the Illuminati are into. Well, yeah, we need fire, right? Otherwise, we were just stuck. The fire of mind. So the fire from the gods, the creativity, the inventiveness. So Dr. LaVey made his most detailed presentation of his concept for how Satan functions and his philosophy in the following monologue. So, I don't feel that raising the devil in an anthropomorphic sense is quite as feasible as theologians or metaphysicians would like to think. I have felt his presence, but only as an exteriorized extension of my own potential as an alter ego or evolved concept that I have been able to exteriorize. So it's like a tulpa. It's like a mind thought form. They would call it a tulpa in the East. So with the full awareness, I can communicate with this semblance, this creature, this demon, this personification that I see in the eyes of the symbol of Satan, the goat of Mendes, as I commune with it before the altar. None of these is anything more than a mirror image of that potential I perceive in myself. So he's admitting all this imagery of Satan comes from an internal projection. Now, a lot of people don't want to admit this, but everybody has this dark side to them, this vicious side, this that could go off at any time. I mean, something could tick you off and you could really show it. He's saying if you exteriorize that alter ego side, that selfish side, that cunning side, that devious side, if you amplify it, exteriorize it, you can anthropomorphize that into a kind of demon if you want. But he's not confused enough or confused so much as to say that this is really an actually independent existing being. He's saying this is just a projection of my own ego. So I have this awareness that the objectification is in accord with my own ego. I'm not deluding myself that I'm calling something that is disassociated or exteriorized from myself the Godhead. This force is not a controlling factor that I have no control over. The satanic principle is that man willfully controls his destiny. If he doesn't, some other man a lot smarter than he is will. Simple. I'm just breaking down a concept. See, that's what they believe. That's simple. That makes perfect sense. You control your destiny to a great extent in this world. If you don't, some other man will, who's a lot smarter. And that's always a problem with society. So Satan is therefore an extension of one's psyche or volitional essence, so that extension can sometimes converse and give directives to the self in a way that thinking of the self as a single unit cannot. So he's saying it has value in exteriorizing these because for some reason our subconscious is sort of like, because we're raised by parents in society, since we're young, we're used to looking up to somebody to tell us something. If we exteriorize it and let it speak back to us, it magnifies itself and it works even deeper, rather than just as a single unit believing all this within ourselves. There's something about that externalizing concept that works. I mean, that's obvious because if we look at the world, every religion, belief systems, even politics, that's always a phenomenon going on, looking outside. So they're saying we can lean on that as a crutch, but we understand we're just doing it as a crutch. It's not literal. In this way, it does help to depict in an externalized way the devil per se. The purpose is to have something of an idolatrous, objective nature to commune with. However, man has connection, contact, control. This notion of an exteriorized God, Satan, is not new. So that's what I went over. So the approach outlined here of consciously creating an exteriorization of the self, which one communes solely in ritual, is a revolutionary religious concept of LaVey's Satanism, and it is a third side approach which proves elusive to many whom it does not come naturally. It is a psychological sleight of mind, not a form of faith. It establishes that the Satanist in ritual, he is Satan. Now, this is what people do with Jesus, though. Like I said, they create this a topa. It's a mind form. Everyone says Jesus' name. There's so many people saying Jesus, even with Buddha. Same thing with followers of Buddhism who study or praise statues all day. If they truly convince themselves it's an external thing, it at least will pacify their mood for the time being, to allow them to realize a better circumstance or make peace with the circumstance, at least. But it's a psychological sleight of mind. They're just not so conscious that's what's going on. Like, they truly may believe that it's an external thing, but really they're just validating it through our self-authenticating ego, self-authenticating consciousness. It's being validated to them, but it's fine because as long as they convince it's real. Just like if you're watching a scary movie, you know, you pay $10 to see a movie knowing it's a movie, but you still jump on certain parts, but you know it's fake. But that's the whole point. Do you know it's fake or not? And that's, you can go into that with religion too. It's the same effect phenomenon. So of course he says in this ritual he is Satan. Again, the word Satan, right? It's just so, you know, it's just full of so many premises that have to be debunked. Because basically, like I said, they're just worldly. They think this world is satanic. Carnal world is satanic. And like I said, the Gnostics would agree. This is like inverted Gnosticism. They would agree the world is satanic. It's life for life. It's fucking hell, basically. It's vicious. It's really man's destiny is in his hands and his ego. You know, there's no supernatural agency that actually cares for you. That's gonna, you know, if you fall off a cliff, there's no hand that's gonna make sure you don't and pick you back up on the cliff. Clearly not. So again, these guys are really just being rational and just embracing their carnal nature. So to be fair, people attending workings of LaVey's bombastic and theatrical rites might not be able to separate the shoutings of hell's Satan while in the ritual chamber with the disbelief in any external gods outside of the chamber. But then Satanism isn't meant for everybody. When asked if there's an upcoming volume, Satanism for Dummies replies, Satanism is not intended for dummies. As he said, Satanism demands study, not worship. So he's stressing how it's intellectual. This book is actually a bestseller on Amazon, The Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey. And again, I'm just going through this because what is this about? All this, we talk about it so much, but what are they, with all this dramatic score in the background? But what do they study? What do they believe? These guys are not the most magical men. There's really nothing magic to it. Like you said, it's not worship, it's just study. The capacity to think is expected of Satanists. So LaVey expected those who embrace his philosophy to understand where to draw the line between fantastic and real. He proclaimed that he was a showman. He felt his Satanists would not be rubes, mistaking the mummery for reality. So, like I said, he's a showman. He does, these red gowns and the Baphomets and the fire and the horns. It just does a lot to our childhood subconscious mind. It just makes it more than it really is. So, again, he's a showman. And that's what he's going to do. You know what I'm saying? As a carny, he knew how to entertain, to draw attention so that he could then present more serious ideas. At a carny, a carnal-minded person, a worldly-minded person. He knew how to get crowds in there so he can get their attention as a showman, but then put his philosophy out. Some might sneer at his methodology, dismissing his deeper cogitations because of his circus-like elements. However, I believe a case can be made that all religions aren't the show business, but the Church of Satan is the only one honest enough to admit it. Exactly. Like I said, the Catholic Church, all that show, all these, come on. The Pope, he's no better. These mega churches in America are no better. Please. No better. I mean, it's all show business. So here's an interview. He says, Satan is to us a symbol rather than an anthropomorphic being, although members of the Church of Satan who are mystically inclined would prefer to think of Satan in a very real anthropomorphic way. So clearly, same phenomenon. The leader understands what it really is. The followers don't. So he's saying how even some of the followers really want to believe in the Satan. This is where it gets stupid. And so they really want to believe there's a red man somewhere who's going to make sure all the bad, devious intentions they have get fulfilled. So, of course, we do not discourage this because we realize that to many individuals, a well-wrought picture of their mentor, of their tutelary divinity, is very important for them to conceptualize ritualistically. However, Satan symbolically is the teacher, the informer of the wise and the wherefores of the world. And in answer to those who would label us devil worshippers or be very quick to assume us to be Satan worshippers, I must say that Satan demands study, not worship, in its truest symbology. So he's reiterating the fact that they do study. Guy is an intellectual, is a sharp guy. So we do not grovel, we do not get down on our knees, genuflect and worship Satan. We do not plead, we do not implore that Satan give us what we wish. We feel that anyone who is going to be blessed by any god of his choice is going to have to show that God that he is capable of taking care of the blessings that are received. Now, so they're just doing the same thing everybody else is doing. So, yeah, that's what tripped me out. The Christians who are against this, you guys have the same agenda. I mean, basically, successful life, perpetuate the world. That's what they want to do. I don't see the difference. They're just more honest about it. So, he advocated creating a God symbol based on one's needs and aesthetic choices. Creative fantasy is employed for emotional fulfillment, experienced in the context of the ritual chamber. Satanists see Satan as the proper symbol to fulfill those needs. A magnification of the best within each of us. Again, he says the best, Satanist, meaning equal to carnal, human, animal nature. That's all he's saying. And like I said, you can look in Alvin Boyd Kuhn's book. He studies Milton deeply, Paradise Lost, and that's what Milton was talking about. The fallen army of Satan is man, collectively man himself, and the fiery lake is earth. He breaks that down clearly. So that's the premise these guys understand, and they're telling the truth. So additionally, LaVey speculated on the idea that when attempting greater magic, it may be that the operator is tapping into a force that is part of a nature to magnify his will. This force is hidden, unknown, and thus dark. But LaVey did not view the force as supernatural entity. In Satanic Bible, he originally explained the Satanist simply accepts the definition of God which suits him best. He closely follows that with the definition he uses. So the Satanist God, by whatever name he is called, or by no name at all, is seen as the balancing factor in nature and not as being concerned with suffering. So that's the key. Again, that's the Gnostic premise. The creation, this self-creation is indifferent to suffering. Clearly, I don't have to go on and on and on about that. That is clear. Any serious thinker has to clearly admit this. There is no concern for suffering here. This self-creation operates off of suffering. We steal each other's calories through murder. Even the plants have to get killed. So this is killing and greed. It's stealing each other's energy, which inflicts suffering by its de facto suffering. So you can't say, and he says, well, God must be this balancing force that just makes sure the carnage and exploitation goes well. Like somebody said, Schopenhauer mentioned how an optimist comes to him and says, well, look how beautiful the rocks and the rivers and the sunsets and the vistas of the trees and the streams flowing to the mountain on the shore as we look above the horizon at the sunset. How beautiful. How could you say that this is a bad thing? And Schopenhauer's like, well, obviously it has to work. I mean, it has to operate. It has to be functional. It can't be a shoddy function. It can't collapse upon itself. Like, that doesn't prove anything. Like, okay, so yeah, nature. There is a force that's balancing, ordering, manifesting as nature. But clearly what they're saying, it is not concerned with suffering. Christians will never admit that. Suffering happens, oh, we gotta call on God. Well, where the fuck was this absentee landlord to prevent this shit? Motherfucker doesn't exist as such. Clearly. Yes, he does. Gotta have faith. They're like, nah, how about studying? You know what I'm saying? How about studying more than just the Bibles? Just study, period. Think. Because clearly this nature is not concerned with suffering. And you talk about God created nature, and nature doesn't give a fuck about suffering. So it's do as thou wilt. They're just admitting that. So this powerful force which permeates and balances the universe is far too impersonal to care about the happiness or misery of flesh and blood creatures on this ball of dirt upon which we live. Clearly, so doesn't care about the happiness or misery. It's indifferent. It is what it is. It's the will of the creatures. You can cultivate happiness if you like. You will end up in misery if you fuck up. But you'll end up in misery anyway, just by being born, in my opinion. Eventually, just due to perpetual deprivation of biology, is miserable. Like in the Bible, Gnostic Bible, they talk about how the miserable mortals, like Gospel of Thomas and everything. But he says these creatures on this ball of dirt. Now, we don't live on a globe. We live on a plane. It's a plane of dirt, and creatures, but point well taken. So LaVey clearly posits a disinterested remote force, not a personality or entity that balances the universe. So that's clearly, it's not a personality. The personality is in the beings. We're the manifestation of the personalities of nature, and it's just self-creation. And humans would sort of be in this human sense, the epitome of the human side would be this personality itself. That's why they said, well, we are the gods then, in quotes. So he sees it as indifferent to life forms, much as any other force such as gravity would be. So again, it's indifferent to life forms. I was watching Nature Channel the other day. Alligator had 5 babies. The eggs just hatched. The little baby alligators walking around. Some asshole neighboring alligator just walks up, opens his jaws, devours all 5 babies alive, and they're screaming. The mother doesn't really do anything. He just walks into the water with the alligators in his mouth. He eats them. So clearly, nature is indifferent to his life forms. It's do as thou wilt. Clearly. So he says, just like gravity, okay, there's no gravity, but just like buoyancy and density and light things float, feathers float, etc. Boats float on the water. Just as much as any other force, he sees it as indifferent. It's a mechanism, not a personage. Again, it's a mechanism more so than a personage. It's not a caring entity. All the caring has to come from the being themselves. You have to care for yourself, even not just physically, but mentally. So it does not merit obeisance, appeasement, or worship. Again, it's not worthy of worship, appeasement, or obedience. I don't see a problem with that. See, I'm breaking this down again. These guys, they make a lot of sense. That doesn't mean you have to say, well, I'm going to be a Satanist. That's stupid. It's just a label. But if you get into the philosophy, I'm just demonstrating here how, look, they're not just sitting around saying, hell, Satan all day, kill, 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 drink blood. This is actually intelligent. So, it can be named or not. You can name it or not. God, we all know the names. It operates without awareness of conscious beings. So, of course, LaVey pointed out to anyone who would listen that the devil to him and his followers was not the stereotyped fellow cloaked in red garb with horns, tail, and pitchfork, but rather the dark forces in nature that human beings are just beginning to fathom. So here's the key. This is inverted Gnosticism. He says Satan, the devil, is actually the dark forces of nature in nature. Like I said, life for life. You have to look at the experience of a fucking lion sinking his teeth into the gazelle, the terror, the horror of that fucking gazelle, the greed, the ignorance of the lion, the suffering, the gore, the blood. This goes on every day, thousands and thousands of times a day at multiple levels in this self-creation. That's the devil. That's a part of this existence, and that's what they're saying. What are you talking about? See, these Christian patriots, oh, the devil, he gonna come back, he gonna destroy the world. Nah, actually, the devil wants the world to keep going because the devil is nature. See? Demystifying this. How did LaVey square the explanation with his own appearance at times in black cow with horns? He replied, people need ritual with symbols such as those you find in baseball games or church services or wars as vehicles for expending emotions they can't release or even understand on their own. See, so he admits, like I said, these rituals, when he puts his robe on, it's just showmanship. It's no different from the preacher. He just bullshit. The only difference between them and the Gnostic is they embrace this world and say, well, fuck it, when in Rome. The Gnostic takes the high road, in quotes, I'll put that in quotes. The Gnostic will take the high roads, or even Buddhist, or the Manichaeans, or any really inner teachings who realize the true nature of creation. Even Sri Yuquestar, who came out with the Holy Science book, he was a Hindu. He talks about this also. When you can observe the true nature of creation, you'll see that it's evil. This is all the Satanists are saying. And they're just embracing it and being honest about it. And the Christians are attacking them because Christians are ignorant. They don't know what to do. They don't know if they're going to save the world, wait for Jesus to come back, go to heaven. They don't know what the hell they're going to do. So, LaVey accepted that there may be currently unexplained elements of the universe that are part of its fabric, but these are not supernatural. Again, we don't live in a big universe. We live in a sphere, on a plane, or a lot of Christians are saying a dome. We live on a plane, and obviously we are within some type of waters. 100% sure about that. He suggests that man's inquiring mind may eventually come to understand how they function. Now, this is just linear myth of progress, this myth of history that man will eventually find out. The wisest of men at all times already figured this out and reversed this. These Satanists are not as deep. I'm not gonna tell you that these guys are the deepest sages at all, but they do put forth the intellectual truth that is very revealing, and it points to the true nature of our existence, more so than the other religions that attack them out of sensational, comical fear. So the implications of these ideas offer great freedom. Since there is no actual deity watching over or mandating the behavior of our species, men are free to imagine whatever sort of god they choose to satisfy their own needs, which they have done anyway, right? I'm sure Genghis Khan had a god of just a glorified warrior killing, greedy god in his mind, or whatever. He could do that. Comes out of the egos of men. However, they should not forget that such fantasies are only that, nothing more. I went over that. He stresses how if we know that there's fantasies, we'll become more wise about it. So in that passage, he also addressed the prime reason for engaging in ritual, which he defined as greater magic. It serves as a means for releasing pent-up emotions that people may not even fully understand. Ritual has a psychological purpose. It is clearly not meant as a means for worship of some supernatural entity. So again, he's even breaking down that the rituals only serve this purpose. Now, what I find funny is if you go to church, they won't tell you that, well, it's just a ritual. It's just a psychological trick to get you. See how honest this is? And again, I'm not praising the Satanists because their teaching is even deeper than this. but I'm just pointing out an aspect, and I'm demystifying and pointing out how this is not really this spooky, mystical, men who are, summoning the devil and no. This is all they talk about. So ritual is demonstrably part of human culture. LaVey knew that it served as a value for people over the millennia, even if it was done for reasons that didn't square with reality. It made people feel better than they did beforehand, so as he continued in the Satanic Bible when addressing the search for proper religion. LaVey says if he accepts himself but recognizes that ritual and ceremony are the important devices that his invented religions have utilized to sustain his faith in the lie, then it is the same form of ritual that will sustain his faith in the truth. The primitive pageantry that will give his awareness of his own majestic being added substance. So he's saying ritual has function, especially if it's pointing to an analyzed, reasoned truth. If it functions in that context, it actually is even more powerful or effective. So thus, the device of ritual, which he explained as controlled self-delusion, can be a practical use for the well-being of one's state of mind. The truth referred to above is that all gods are an invention of the creative beast called man. So he brings it back to the point. Man is just the creative beast. This is the legion. We are a legion. Man is Satan, the fallen army of Satan. So to summarize the typical individual's journey from observing reality to declaring himself a Satanist, let us list several assertions. So these are the Satanist assertions. Nature encompasses all that exists. There is nothing supernatural in nature. Now, that's clear. Like he said, nature is actually a self-contained entity. There's nothing supernatural. There's no hand that's going to make sure you don't bust your ass after you fall off the cliff. Most likely, your existence will cease. So, clearly, nothing supernatural in nature. The spiritual is an illusion. I am utterly carnal. Okay. That is a face value truth. The human is carnal. Every creature here basically is carnal. Spirituality to you is a far-fetched concept. It means nothing. It means nothing in this world. Now, spiritual cultivation is something entirely different. It's an otherworldly practice, or it's a pre-worldly practice. It's a pre-birth concept. This world is not spiritual, it is carnal. Wise observation. Reason is my tool for cognition, making faith anathema. I question all things. I am a skeptic. Nothing wrong with skepticism. People don't have enough of it. Obviously, with these, with the mass religions and even politics, it's the same shit. Athletes, same shit. It's worship. It's you be a skeptic is what they're saying. So faith is anathema. Faith is irrelevant to what I'm doing. If we are intelligent, creative beast or whatever, then we can inquire on these things without just blindly accepting. I do not accept false dichotomies, finding instead the third side, which brings me closer to understanding the mysteries of existence. False dichotomies, that would be like the external anthropomorphic God, the external anthropomorphic devil fighting each other in the sky. And the humans looking up, oh, who's gonna win? I hope Jesus wins. Like, that's false dichotomy. Like, we go to third side, or you can say the middle way, which brings everything down to your feet. Like they say, you will see that the devil is actually the dark force in nature, of nature, I would say, that operates 24/7. The universe is neither benevolent nor malevolent. It is indifferent. So their premise is this whole thing is indifferent. It's not good or bad per se. There is no universe, of course. There's a flat earth. There's a sphere of existence we live on. They're saying it's neutral. This is their way to embrace the world. Personally, I would say if I want to be fair, I would say it's 51-49 malevolent. And the other 49, so I would say it's 51% malevolent, 49% indifferent. All the benevolence is just the makeup. Like, help the starving children. Why are they starving in the first fucking place? They were born into a deficient state. So helping the starving children is a relatively good act, but the foundation of it is a negative. It's a negative value. So all the good is just, cleaning up the spilled milk. So I would say it's 51% malevolent, 49% indifferent. they're going to say it's all indifferent because they're going to embrace this, and nobody wants to say I'm doing bad or I'm being bad or I'm condoning bad. But clearly, if I let my 5-year-old niece, I say, design a world, she would not design this sick slaughterhouse called Earth. So to me, it's mostly malevolent. There are no gods. I am an atheist. There are no anthropomorphic beings floating around in another dimension, coming to give you a high five, coming to trip you, coming to fight your wars for you. Not happening. Okay. That's plain as day. There is no intrinsic purpose to life beyond biological imperatives. I thus determine my own life's meaning. Clearly, people keep asking, what's the meaning to life? Okay, what is life? We are humans. What are we designed to do? Schopenhauer and those guys went into this. Okay, they would say the will of hunger manifests as teeth and stomach. The will of sex and lust manifests as genitals. The will of procreation goes into genitals and the testes and the eggs, of course. The will to create, to use cleverness and genius, that's the brain, of course, which is really, I would say, the person itself, but just saying. The will to hear, the ears, etc., etc. All of these are functions of our biology. This is the purpose of life. People keep asking what's more. You are designed. This is the purpose. Nobody asks what the purpose of a car is. You see how it's designed. You see how it works. That's what it does. We see how we're designed. We see how we work. That's what the meaning is. Now, any higher meaning you're looking for has to do something with consciousness. And this is the origin of, I would say, true religion, to differentiate between mass religion. True religion would say there's something higher, but it's not a higher purpose to this world. It's in spite of this world, before this world, beyond this world. It has nothing to do with this world. So he says, since the case is biological imperatives, I determine my own life's meaning. And that's what everybody does anyway. They won't admit it. They'll say that God gave me this meaning. This is what God said do. But no, that's you acquiescing to the premises. So I decide what is of value. I am my own highest value. Therefore, I am my own God. I am an I-theist. I went over that. Everybody decides what is of value to them, the highest value. Therefore, you are the creator, the most important factor in your existence. So they would say, well, in a sense, in quotes, I am a god, not a mythological supernatural deity who can throw lightning bolts, but I'm an I-theist. Good is that which benefits me and promotes that which I hold in esteem. Clear. Nothing wrong with that statement. Evil is that which harms me and hinders that which I cherish. This is clear. This is self-evident and this is true. He's saying evil is only what harms me and that which I cherish. This is true. Now, people wouldn't admit this, but if somebody break into your house and let's just say they try to attack you, you're gonna if you got a gun, you're gonna shoot them. But if you don't, say you got a bat or something, you're gonna beat their ass. Now, that's violence, right? Isn't that evil? No, it's good because he tried to harm you and everything you cherish, and you had to commit a violent act, which was good because it preserved you. See, they're just being honest. Again, I live to maximize the good for myself and those I value. At all times, I remain in control of my pursuit of pleasure. I'm an Epicurean. Like Epicurus, pleasure is the highest goal of life. Now, if you really get into Epicureanism, he actually goes beyond that because he speaks about the philosophy and wisdom being the highest pleasure. But for the sake of this, what he's saying, I maximize the good for myself. Isn't that what everybody's doing? Even if Christians are talking about prosperity, isn't this worldliness? What's the difference? What's the difference between Satanists and the worldly Christians? Merit determines my criteria for judgment of myself and others. I judge and am prepared to be judged. Of course, people judge. We judge each other, and we should be prepared to be judged by others. Nothing spooky about that. I seek a just outcome in my exchanges with those around me. I thus will do unto others as I would prefer they do unto me. Oh, they have the golden rule in Satanism. Could you believe it? Like I said, where's the spookism in this? See, where's the spookism? However, if they treat me poorly, I shall return that behavior in a like degree. They're just eye for an eye guys. And like I said, if somebody break in your house, and especially tries to attack you, you're going to be eye for an eye too. So we can look at this as being, oh, how wicked. But most of us will do the same, especially if come on. And if we got the upper hand, you're gonna get some licks in. So clearly, the world is seeming more satanic, or everybody's seeming more like a Satanist the more I read this. So I grasp the human need for symbols as a means for distillation of complex thought structures. Intelligent breakdown of symbolism and ritual, basically. It's a human need. They say it's a need, so that's what I'm saying. We could argue that people need it. The only problem is they always become confused by it. But yet they need it, so it's a catch-22. The symbol that best exemplifies my nature as an aware beast is Satan, the avatar of carnality, justice, and self-determination. Now, that's the key. That's what makes them Satanism. That's what they're saying. I'm an aware beast. They admit that they're beasts. Now, I guess a Christian or all these religious people are there just souls traveling, waiting to go to heaven as soul. Yeah, but on a daily, if you look at yourself, what you are, we are carnal beast. So they're embracing that, and this is what Satan is, right? The avatar of carnality, justice, and self-determination, self-will. Hell is full of self-will. We are all the army of Satan. So, these ideas fundamental to Satanists serve as an earthy foundation that we find deeply liberating and a welcome acceptance of ourselves as human animals. Now, this is what I'm always going on about, how humans are animals. They're accepting this and go even further to say that this human animal beast is epitomized as Satan. That's actually clever for them to pick that up. Most people think Satan is actually a red-horned monster somewhere. I mean, this is really some childish shit. We're like wild children almost. For the type of person who feels the need for an external supernatural parental figure, the responsibility for self-determination explicit in this path will be terrifying. For the Satanist, belief in any actual god or devil to which one would be beholden is repugnant and stultifying. We agree to disagree with those who are spiritually oriented concerning our different approaches to living, hence our advocacy of pluralism in society. We Satanists know that our way is not for everyone. We simply ask that others follow their own path and allow us to be as we are. So, live and let be is their motto. And again, their whole goal is not to go around killing and eating, drinking blood. Like I said, Christians actually have the bloody symbols and the drinking Christ's blood symbolism, which is vampiric as hell. So, and he goes on to say how, well, this responsibility of self-determination is terrifying to a lot of people if we drop the figure. Like I said, it's kind of lonely when you don't have a God to pray to. And this is the self-determinate path. This, of course, they embrace the worldly. They have that right. So, but please, all of you believers, understand we are not simply your flip side. We are not devil worshippers. We are simply carnal, self-worshippers looking to enjoy our lives to the fullest. May you find bliss in your serving of your chosen deity. We certainly will. So, there's self-worshippers, carnal self-worshippers. Now, this is what everybody is. This is what I go into when I talk about procreation, and that's the affirmation of the carnal lower self anyway. So in my opinion, to sum this up, anybody who follows the course of the world is a Satanist, or who condones it is condoning Satanism. I'm here too. All right, I am what I am too. I'm just as much of another human animal as everybody else. But any of the minds or belief systems that condone the world in this course is Satanism. That's what they're saying. They understand this world, its foundation, how it functions, the true nature. There is no intervention. There is only the blind and different mechanisms of nature in her dark forces. Peace.